All right, welcome to a new installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Let me see, 3 reviews, 1 impressions vid up this week, and we start with said impressions of REARVIEW Mirror. So REARVIEW Mirror is a narrative adventure that takes place inside a car. A journey through the mean streets of a corrupt, hostile, and dangerous world. Rearview Mirror is about redemption and second chances. Can someone who took bad decisions repair the harm he caused? Can he change his path? Leaving his past behind depends on us. But if he can't escape, then it becomes a prison. And everything has its price. So, not exactly sure if the Rearview Mirror title will become metaphorical. Like, it certainly is literal.
I was going to say, if it takes place in a car, I'm pretty sure it's, above all else, literal.
Yes. There is an actual rearview mirror. And you can look into it at times. Doesn't seem to do much. Like, nor is it the actual focus of, the actual gameplay at hand here. And, that is answering or not answering, it's like responding to the various, your various writers' inquiries and conversations. And it's one of those games. Though it's worth noting that Salvatore Mariano, the protagonist here, he's less of a taxi driver and more of a Uber/getaway driver.
So you're saying it's not crazy, or no, Odd Taxi is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's hard to say, actually, because I'm like, it's closer than you'd think. But here's the thing. Certainly mechanically they're close, but narratively we are very far apart, because this is about gangsters and redemption and failure and spending 20 years in prison and code of ethics, because the big choice that Salvatore made was he didn't rat out his boss to the feds, and so he did a full stint in prison, and that ended up causing family friction, i.e. it caused his wife to move away emotionally, not actually physically. Otherwise, I don't think there would have been a big chunk of the game there, because also she was pregnant at the time. So he has a daughter that he hadn't seen ever. Like you may have heard this premise in a mafia movie or something like that. And the overall task seems to be, reconnecting with the family, maybe. So, here's the thing. It's really hard to get a beat on the actual narrative, because so little of it's in the actual game right now.
As you do with some of this kind of game.
Yeah, well, it's in early access. It's worth noting, apparently this is being charted for the getting out of early access by the end of March 2024. I'm going to say they're going to miss that, because the only thing that's in here is the first episode. And that's the first act, which is consisting of 3 episodes. The thing is, the main meat seems to be Act 2. Like that was divided up into, I think, 8 episodes. Like, it's certainly via the interface, it's the biggest of the episodes. And the only thing there is the opening cutscene. So, yeah, that's why these impressions are more impressive than usual. Because, everything that's there is functional, I think. It's just, it's hard to gauge the functionality when most of the content's not there yet. Like, and also worth noting, this doesn't this isn't a pure narrative experience either. It's like what you say or what you don't say to a passenger will have an effect on them, and it will ultimately come up in your, let's say, Mafia Yelp review. Like, or at least maybe it did. Like, I wasn't exactly sure if what happened with the second passenger was something that was actually storyline based, or if that's something based off of the actual decisions I made. Yeah, that could use some clarity. Like, yeah. Ultimately, like, in terms of its visual presentation, it gets away with a lot. Now, what you're seeing here is pretty much the whole game, outside of the cutscenes, which are done comic book style. Also, as of time of recording, no voice acting. Not sure if that's going to change. Once again, like, the early access roadmap is touting a timeline that seems way too optimistic. Because apparently what's on display here is a third of the game. So there's the developers are saying that the remaining 2/3 is going to be released by the end of March, which is about 2 months from now.
Do we know when this build was released, though?
Yes, January 25th, 2024.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, if this was like a 4-month-old build, then maybe.
Yeah. Like I said, this is the kind of game that makes me detest doing early access, because or at least when something is this early access.
Yeah, you can't tell what it's going to be.
Yeah. I'm like, what is there is fine, but it's like, especially since it's a narrative game, like, the narrative is nowhere near done. I'm like, I'm presuming my progress will proceed. Like, it's keeping track of the progress, and it'll proceed once the next bit of content is ready to be injected into this build.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the big thing with this. I don't see much changing in terms of mechanics or like polish. It's just like the actual content is what's needed. And therefore, I just have to throw on a big old question mark. Because it seems solid enough. Like, the writing's good so far. It's a story that's taking itself completely seriously. It's like there's no meta humor or wink wink nudge nudge nonsense. No, this is a serious story played seriously. Some of its artwork gives the impression of a new wave retro aesthetic, like the actual banner here, and I'm not sure that really comes across in the actual artwork. Like, there's nothing really new wave about this car. It looks like a car, not like not a car that's bathed in purple neon.
Not very realistic. More like, hey, this could be my mom's car.
More or less. Like, no, like, was the soundtrack especially new wavy or vaporware or anything like that? Which is a bit disappointing actually. But then again, I don't know how much of, like, once again, I don't know if what's in the game right now is just placeholder or an actual soundtrack or whatever. Once again, this is the eternal frustration of dealing with early access stuff, especially when it's just like a third of an actual game. You don't know. All that's known right now is a lot more is to come, but you don't know how much this package is going to change between now and the point when the game gets released. And it will never cease to be frustrating. So, I think the best way to rate this in the here and now is the price point. And
it's not $9,999, is it?
Fortunately, no. I would say the price point is reflective of what's literally there right now. It's $3.99 USD, so it's $4. And and it's worth noting that the devs have are flat out stating in their early access notes that the current price will increase when we launch the full version. So the thing is, I think what is here is short enough where like you can get a grip on whether or not you like it, and if you don't, you could get a refund. Now, granted, the game is only $4, so it's not asking much in terms of an investment right now. I don't know how much they are looking to increase the price. I'm not sure if the devs even know that right now. So there's not really a point in speculating on that front. It's just, right now it's ground floor pricing. So if this is the kind of game that interests you, like if you want a narrative adventure, it's almost a visual novel, but there's just enough interactivity on display here to get away with being called a narrative adventure. But just barely. Just the fact that you can look around in the car and interact with the phone. Once again, there could be more interactivity being added into the game. I have my doubts, but we shall see what the future holds, I suppose. Anyway, Petty, you've been playing the game. Anything you wish to add?
Not really.
All right. So, yeah, I wish I could be a bit more thorough, but, you know, when you only have a third of the game, it's going to be kind of on the shallow end of things.
Yeah.
in terms of
Hopefully,
analysis.
at least this is just an earlier build the devs already had ready a while back, and it isn't, their current work up to now.
I
Like,
mean,
and they're nearing
got-
completion, basically, if they want to reach their roadmap.
yeah.
And this is just like a vertical slice they've already had for a little while and put it up on Steam for a proof of concept.
Yeah. So, like I said, what's here is solid enough, but ultimately, it's like it's a bit too incomplete to render any useful judgment otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think that's about all I got here. So, yeah, that'll about do it for REARVIEW Mirror. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Anomaly Agent.